Hello and welcome to Voice After 50, the space where we talk about the moments, the challenges and the quiet victories of life after 50. I'm Beverley, and today I want to share something I came across recently while scrolling through social media. A saying that really stopped me in my tracks. Don't let loneliness make you reconnect with toxic people. You shouldn't drink poison just because you're thirsty. Quite dramatic and striking, isn't it? Talking about poison and thirst in relation to each other. This saying acts as a reminder that something which feels comforting in the moment can actually harm us in the long run and over time. It made me pause and think deeply about the ways loneliness can influence our choices, especially as women over 50. Loneliness is a very tricky companion. It's quiet but persistent, and it shows up regardless of your past experiences, relationships, or suffering. Loneliness doesn't respect your history. It doesn't wait until you're healed or avoid triggering old wounds. It simply exists and can make anyone feel vulnerable, regardless of the lessons they've learned or pain they've already endured. Sometimes loneliness doesn't arrive with sadness at all. It can look very functional. You go to work, cook dinner, scroll your phone, maybe chat to someone in the shop. From the outside, everything looks fine, but inside, there's a sense that no one really knows you anymore, or that the world has just quietly moved on without checking whether you were ready. And that's when old connections can suddenly look comforting, not because they were ever truly nourishing, but because they are familiar, like an old coat that never really fit, but you keep hanging on to it because it once kept you warm. It's very human. There's nothing weak or shameful about that pull. It just means we're wired for connection. I remember a moment a few years back on a quiet grey afternoon when I hadn't heard from anyone for some time. Calls and messages from friends had just dried up for a while. I was tidying the house half-heartedly when a familiar hollow feeling arrived. It wasn't sadness, not a crisis. I just felt kind of empty. And almost without thinking, I found myself looking at the contacts in my phone and hovering over the name of someone who, to be completely frank, had never been particularly kind to me. But it wasn't really about them. It was about wanting to feel remembered, seen, like someone actually wanted me in their life. And then this thought in my head whispered, in that moment, am I actually missing them, or am I just missing the feeling of not being alone? And that, I think, is where many of us stumble, especially after 50 and beyond, when life shifts around us. Kids grow up, friends move, careers change, partners leave. The circle that once filled our social cup may no longer exist, and suddenly the cup feels empty. So the temptation to reach back to old patterns can feel almost natural, logical, even essential. Loneliness can make us more vulnerable to reaching out to people who aren't really good for us. It's not usually that the person themselves is bad or intentionally trying to hurt us. What often pulls us back in are the old habits or patterns we've built around them, like wanting their approval or craving their attention or simply needing to feel connected. Recognizing patterns helps us to see that it's the dynamic that's unsafe or draining and not good for us, not necessarily the person as a whole. So when we feel lonely, we might be tempted to reconnect with somebody who has hurt us. But it's usually not about them personally. It's about the familiar ways we've learned to relate to them. Not every gesture from them is genuine, and not every smile is warm. Paying attention to these patterns, not just the person, helps us protect our peace, even when loneliness makes reaching out feel tempting. Psychologist Julianne Holt-Lunstad studies social connection, and she points out that loneliness isn't just about being alone, it's about feeling understood. The thing is, many of us weren't taught that setting boundaries is a skill worth cultivating. Harriet Lerner, who writes extensively about relationships, notes that women are often encouraged to keep the peace rather than have peace. So, for some of us, learning to say no, or even pausing before reconnecting, isn't just new, it can almost feel alien. Yet, over time, we accumulate life experiences and emotional insight, a kind of quiet wisdom we carry. And that wisdom allows us to notice the difference between wanting connection, especially when we're feeling lonely, and reaching out in ways that might harm us or repeat old painful patterns. So, not drinking the poison is a metaphor for choosing not to engage with someone or a situation that could hurt us, even if loneliness or habit tempts us to. Loneliness doesn't mean failure. Sometimes it just signals that life has shifted faster than our connections. And sitting with that can be revealing. It allows space to hear that quiet inner voice telling us, this isn't nourishment, this isn't safe. One simple practice I've found helpful is asking myself a gentle question before I reach out. Do I feel grounded and whole right now, or do I feel empty and anxious? When I act from emptiness, I tend to make choices that soothe me quickly but cost me peace later. But when I act from a grounded place, even if I still feel lonely, I choose differently. I'm kinder to myself. I reach for people and spaces that feel steady and safe. And the more often we pause like this, the more we begin to rebuild our trust in our own judgment, which for many of us was chipped away over the years by people-pleasing or self-doubt. When loneliness arrives, it can be tempting to reach for anything that fills the silence. But deep down, what we're really yearning for is true connection, the kind that feels safe, nourishing, and respectful, not the kind that leaves us smaller or unsettled afterwards. So if what we're really longing for is genuine, safe connection, what does that look like in everyday life? Not in a dramatic, fix your life kind of way, but gently, in small choices. It might mean calling a trusted friend instead of the person who always left you feeling drained. Or getting outside for a walk, sitting in a cafe or library where you're still surrounded by life. Maybe it's spending time on something creative or absorbing, just to remind yourself you exist beyond the loneliness. These are simple things, but they honour both our need for connection and our need to protect our peace. And through this, we rebuild trust in ourselves. Not the loud, dramatic kind of trust, but the everyday whisper. No, that doesn't feel right. Yes, I'm allowed to choose differently now. That in itself is transformative. So what I'm really saying is that sometimes it's worth pausing and taking a moment before reconnecting with someone from the past. Maybe sit with the loneliness for a while. Go with the feeling. Name it if it helps. Let it be. You may notice something surprising, that your own company, your own voice, your own life can be richer than you realised, especially when you aren't bending toward old poisons just because you're thirsty. One of the unexpected gifts of this season we're in is that we finally begin to understand the kind of connection that truly nourishes us. It becomes less about numbers, how many friends, how full our diaries look, and more about depth. The quiet cups of tea, the conversations where we don't need to pretend, the people who celebrate our boundaries instead of pushing past them. And sometimes those relationships arrive later in life, through a class, a walking group, volunteering, or simply being open to meeting someone new. Connection doesn't end at our age. In many ways, it becomes more honest, because comfort without safety isn't comfort at all. And sometimes the greatest thing you can do is to choose yourself. Choose your peace and choose life on your own terms. And if you're listening today and thinking, that's me, I do feel lonely sometimes, I just want to say, you're not alone in that. Many women say the same thing. Life can become quieter, and with that quiet comes space. And sometimes that space echoes. But it also holds possibility. Possibility for new routines, new circles, new stories, and new ways of being kind to ourselves. Thanks for joining me today on Voice After 50. I hope this reflection leaves you with a moment of pause, a deep breath, and a little reminder of your own worth. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, your peace is worth protecting. Talk soon. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love it if you could subscribe, Leave a review or share it with a friend. It really helps Voice After 50 reach more curious minds like yours. A quick note, the content of this and all podcast episodes is for general information and entertainment purposes only. It's not professional advice, counselling or therapy. Please consult a qualified professional for any personal, medical or psychological concerns.